808 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on into a Friday. It is June 27th. Really glad that it is Friday, as a matter of fact. We're talking about, just real quick, Zoran Mamdani and Congressman Andy Ogles from the 5th Congressional District. He wants to have him denaturalized and deported. And so he laid out his reasons why. And I think it is interesting. We do have Justin Jones, and Justin put out a little video about how great he thinks that, not shocking, by the way, Zoran Mamdani is. And he actually says, because somebody on the Super Text line said, thank the Lord this guy isn't our mayor. Justin Jones, and I'm going to play the audio. Justin Jones actually believes that Mamdani would be a great mayor for Nashville, and he wants, and I'm going to play the audio, but he also wants our own mayor, Freddie O'Connell, to take note. But just a few of the things that Mamdani stands for, just to let you know how incredibly horrible this guy is. He wants inmates to be housed on self-declared gender identity. You know, all the buzzwords, right? And in case you don't know who this guy is, I mean, he just won the Democrat primary for mayor of New York. And so the Democrat Party, they are incredibly divided on this, because you got a lot of people that say that dude, as a Democratic socialist, is way too to the left. And then you have others like Justin Jones, who is embracing this. But he wants inmates to be housed based on self-declared gender identity. So if I get arrested, and I'm in New York, can I just say, yeah, you know what, I identify as a female, so you can put me in the female prison so that I don't end up, in a prison with a bunch of dudes? Because I think we all know what happens in there. He wants to have 50% of the state's advertising budget. This tells you how much of a freak show dude Mamdani is. He wants to have 50% of the state's, New York, state's advertising budget to be spent with media outlets based on race, ethnicity, and immigration status. He supports and has aggressively tried to have Israel's economy destroyed through the BDS movement. I told you all about that yesterday. Boycott, divest, and sanction Israel. He is clearly not a friend to Israel. I don't have the audio bite handy, but yesterday I played you the audio where he said that if it was up to him, he would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. He wants a $30 an hour minimum wage. He wants to defund the police. And so I believe that this guy could really help the Republicans. I do. Capitalizing on his failure. So Andy Ogles, of course, he says that Andy Ogles says that he should be denaturalized and deported. He was born in Uganda to Indian parents. He's lived in New York since the age of 7 and became a U.S. citizen in 2018. Ogles called Mamdani Little Muhammad in a post to X, formerly Twitter, adding that the mayoral hopeful is an anti-Semitic socialist communist who will destroy the great city of New York. Ogles saying he needs to be deported, which is why I am calling for him to be subject to denaturalization proceedings. And he sent a note to Pam Bondi, Attorney General. So we asked the Daily Dan poll. We changed it real quick. And KGB, how are people feeling right now? Was it the right thing for Andy Ogles to call for his denaturalization and deportation? And where do people stand on all this?
57% say yes to 43% no.
Okay. So there's a lot of people. I want to know from the people that said no, why do you say no? I'm curious as to why people are saying no. 615-737-9986. The super text line is open. Now, you've got Representative Justin Jones. He put out a little video, and this is what he said. He is all excited. I mean, it almost sounds like Justin Jones has a bit of a man crush on Zoran Mamdani. This is what he had to say.
I mean, last night was an amazing victory for our progressive movement. It shows that Democrats can win when they move left, not when they capitulate to the center, not when they cower down and try and moderate their position, but when they are unapologetic about the issues that people care about, affordability, this economic populism. That's what we saw last night. A progressive, a brown Muslim man won, a man who comes from an immigrant background. I mean, as he said, he's Trump's worst nightmare. And
I can't help myself. So Justin Jones says that this guy, Mamdani, is Donald Trump's worst nightmare. And he's into economic populism, rent, freezing rents and all that in New York. But isn't Donald Trump doing the right thing by trying to cut everyone's taxes? Of course he is. And don't listen to the moronic people on the left, and big shock, Justin Jones, if I get to it. Justin Jones actually went out there and said that all Donald Trump's tax cuts did was help the millionaires and the billionaires, when we absolutely know that that is not true. So if you want to talk about, and I'm air quoting here, economic populism, talk about the popularity, Justin Jones, talk about the popularity of Donald Trump's tax cuts and no taxes on tips. Why don't you talk about that? If we want to talk about this notion of economic populism, in the world of Justin Jones, economic populism means just, give the poor people everybody else's money. It seems like that's what and by the way, freezing rents is a terrible idea. You know why? Because number one, it limits the amount of availability in apartments because nobody wants to leave their apartments. That's number one. Number two, if you're a landlord and you are stuck with these apartments that have frozen rent and you can't raise the rent, well, then what happens if something breaks and you don't have the money to fix it? Then you got all these people complaining that their air conditioning doesn't work in the middle of summer. Well, guess what? I can't afford to fix the air conditioning because I can't raise the damn rent. So there are very serious consequences to, these ideas that Zoran Mamdani and Justin Jones have. Oh, I've got more. 8:15, time to check the roads on WTN. Friday high of 90, scattered thunderstorms, rain possible, a little bit higher than 90 degrees today. Saturday and Sunday, highs near 90 as well, scattered thunderstorms and rain. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Playing this audio from State Representative Justin Jones on Zoran's win. That's what he calls it. And he is very excited, as you can imagine, and he would like Nashville to do the same thing.
And exactly the type of bold progressive voice we need in this time as we face this counterforce of authoritarianism and regression from the Trump administration. New York City sets an example of what happens when we build these coalitions, when we have campaigns rooted in authenticity, when we have campaigns rooted in the issues that people care about, issues that will make their lives more affordable, issues that actually uplift working class people and not, bowing down to the corporate class and the donor class that tells us to be timid about fighting for bold progressive and positive, proactive change. And so I'm hopeful. And I think, it also sends a message of to places like here in Nashville, to our mayor, what type of mayor he should and can be. When you fight for the people will show out for you. Not when you're afraid to stand up to extremism, not when you back down. Zoran, was unapologetic about calling for police reform, unapologetic about...
Now realize when he talks about police reform, he's actually talking about defunding the police. There's a difference between, police reform and literally defunding the police. And old Zoran there, what he wants to do is send social workers to crime scenes.
Looking at affordability, free, improving busing, free transportation, housing affordability, really bold progressive agenda. And was also not afraid.
You know what else he wants to do, by the way? So that you got the free busing, right? You got that. So what Mamdani also wants to do is he wants to give $65 million to the people of New York. Wait for it, for gender reassignment surgeries. I mean, it doesn't get... This guy is like a caricature of a Democrat socialist. And so, you know what? This guy he likes to call himself Donald Trump's worst nightmare. He is America's worst nightmare. And, part of me actually wants... I don't know. Am I wrong, Joan? Part of me actually wants this guy to win in New York for the sole reason that I'd like to watch New York burn.
Ooh.
I mean, if this is what New Yorkers want, if this is what they want, then let him win and let's settle once and for all what democratic socialism does to major American cities. I mean, don't we already know? All you got to do, man, is look at California. All you got to do is look at San Francisco. You got to look at Los Angeles. You got to look at, Portland, Oregon. You got to look at Chicago, Illinois. Those, and New York is still a train wreck. So you've got all of these cities that, as Justin Jones says, these cities have gone farther left, and they are in ruins. And so for me, it's like, okay, you know what? You want to bring this guy in for this bold experiment in New York? Let's go ahead and do it and see what happens. I mean, you do have that. And so let all the job creators and let all the people who have the money to invest in the city, invest in jobs, invest in research and development in the economy. Let them all move out because old Mamdani there wants to raise the taxes on people making, what is it, over $1 million a year? So you go right on ahead. And you can have your illegal alien utopia with all of the free buses you can handle.
To stand up for human rights. That's what we have to do in this time. Stand up to ICE, not to say, oh, I want to be, back off of this topic because it's controversial. To say we're going to, stand 10 toes down for every person in our city, in our community. That's the type of mirror that he's going to be. It gives me hope to see. And I hope one day in the South we can have leadership like that at the city and mayoral level as well.
How are you going to afford all of these, illegal aliens that you want to bring in? See, all of this, if you're like a progressive, if you're a democratic socialist, whatever you want to say, it sounds like a bunch of platitudes. But please tell me, who is going to pay for all the freebies? You can take them from the police budget? Okay. You're going to tax the millionaires and the billionaires that are left in New York? Okay. Let's see what happens when they all move out. In other words, these big, bold, progressive ideas, they've got to be paid for somehow in some way. Fast and free buses. Okay. So how are you going to pay for the fast and free buses? Nobody really knows. These are all just great ideas on the left. And this is why you've got a lot of Democrats that are saying, yeah, we're not so sure about all this.
The party that wants a secret police and the American Gestapo wants us to be afraid.
All right, so I want to make sure that it wasn't lost in what he said. He's talking about Republicans and Donald Trump, and we want a secret police and the Gestapo. So, you have with these folks on the left, right? You have these people on the left, and they've got all their buzz phrases. Secret police. There's no secret police out there. The reason why they have to wear masks is because people like you, Justin Jones, want to dox them. That's why they wear the masks.
The party that wants a secret police and the American Gestapo wants us to be afraid of a man who's fighting for human dignity and rights. And so I would say to Zoran to let his haters be his motivators, to know that they've taken the fear out of the word democratic socialism. There's no more fear in that word, and so they actually helped because they've watered down so much and called everything these fear buzzwords that they don't have any power or meaning anymore.
So one of the things I noted earlier in the program is that this living with dignity seems to be like a new phrase that the left is using where, people got to live with dignity. Well, what exactly does that mean? If you're a socialist and you want people to live in dignity, which essentially seems to me like this is another buzz phrase that the Democrats are using for taking other people's money and giving it to, people for rent control and free buses, $65 million for, these gender reassignment surgeries in New York. All of these things, that's what they're doing. Can I ask a question? Is that what living with dignity means? Is free buses, rent controls, $65 million for transgender reassignment surgery, defunding the police? Is that what that is? Is that what living in dignity means?
It's interesting because this is the party that is getting ready to cut Medicaid and Medicare to give the corporate socialism, and some of the largest tax breaks and tax cuts and defend, corporations and not everyday people. That's what we should be afraid of.
There's another, phrase, another buzz phrase from the Democrats and Justin Jones, where it's like, oh, they're going to cut Medicaid. They're going to cut Medicaid. Well, yeah, we are going to cut Medicaid in the sense that we're going to wipe out the waste, fraud, and abuse. And what we're also going to do is put work requirements on them, which, oh, by the way, the vast majority of Americans agree with that. So Justin Jones wants Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell to take a page out of the playbook of Zoran Mamdani and wants him to become more of a progressive socialist, and we'll have to wait, a democratic socialist, so we'll have to see where all of that goes. It is 8:24 on Nashville's Morning News. All right, so KGB, what are people saying? Do people agree with Andy Ogles now? Go on YouTube, take the Daily Dan poll, and do you agree with Andy Ogles that BDSer Zoran Mamdani should be denaturalized and deported?
66% agree to 34% disagree.
Okay, very good. Well, you keep taking the poll if you want. Watch us on YouTube. The super text line also, for people that said no, I'm genuinely curious. For people that said no, and there's no trap here, I want to know why you said no. I'm really curious as to why you said no. The super text line is open, 615-737-9986. Joan Jones has the news coming up at 8:30. Hey, Joan.
Hey there, Dan. Well, in the news, the Justice Department says, dare me to Kilmar Abrego Garcia's lawyers. Also, we've got the novel approach that climate activists are taking to preserve money given to them by Joe Biden. That's coming up here at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$8:36. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Joan, some very glum faces over at CNN.
Oh, really? Why?
The S&P, I guess, is about to hit is it an all-time high?
It actually already crossed. Yes, it's now at an all-time high, and so is the NASDAQ.
So, yeah, remember when Trump's tariffs, they were going to destroy the economy and all that kind of stuff? Well, apparently not the case.
So the CNBC is saying that the stocks have overcome trade turmoil and geopolitics to reclaim the records.
Oh, but back up. So what did you? So you just said they're going to overcome what?
They overcame trade turmoil. So they're saying that President Trump's tariffs are causing it, and geopolitics.
In other words, the Democrats and the media tried to tank our economy with all of the fear mongering about the tariffs, and it didn't work.
It didn't work. So here you go. The S&P is right now at 61.56, and the record previous to today was 61.47.
All right.
And the NASDAQ is sitting at 20,231 right now, and the record was 20,218. So they're both they're both hitting records today.
Wall Street, this is from CBS. Wall Street has largely shrugged off concerns about tariffs and geopolitical tensions since early April, although there have been periods of volatility along the way, of course. While these issues continue to pose risks to the U.S. economy, many investors are confident they'll skirt any major market downturns, at least in the short term. One guy they quoted as saying, Brett Kenwell, we hear all those narratives of what could go wrong or what is going wrong, but the market doesn't seem to care. It's looking forward. It's plowing ahead, and it's been trading really well. And they talk about the easing concerns about the tariffs. Do you know when Donald Trump, and I remember this like it was yesterday. I was right here on WTN. He took that trip down the escalator, and he said what he said in that first speech. And you had all of these people during the entire campaign saying that our economy, it was going to be, the market's going to crash. And it's all these dire warnings, very dystopian. They were acting like we'd all be selling, as I like to say, pencils on the street corner. Never happened.
Right.
Never happened. the Trump tax cuts, the investments, all the things that Donald Trump did in the first term, take out COVID. And he had a really, really good first term as far as the economy goes. Yes, he spent a lot of money. Now, second term, again, they tried to destroy his economy with all of the tariff talk and the fear-mongering and the dystopian comments. And guess what? Right now, it's doing really well.
Sure is. So even this morning, we had a reading on the economy, the Federal Reserve's preferred inflation gauge, and it came in a little hotter than it was supposed to come in. So investors have shrugged that off, and they're also taking into account that China and the U.S. confirming that they have this trade framework.
Yeah.
That President Trump talked about it yesterday, and it was confirmed. So it allows the export of rare earths to the U.S., and it also eases those tech restrictions that they have been talking about. So there is some things going on in the economy sort of behind the scenes that are happening that, help this to happen today.
All right. Well, we'll see where it ultimately ends. And this is obviously good news if you're, a Trump supporter, because, every time we turn around, you get all of these people on the left saying that Trump is going to do this, Trump is going to do that, what Trump is doing is unconstitutional. All of these things that they accuse the president of doing, including destroying the economy. And it's just not the case. And I do wonder at some point, and I think we may be at that point, where the American people just stop listening to the fearmongers. The American people just stop listening to the media, and specifically, your CNN and your MSNBC. I don't know. Do you ever watch CNBC?
Oh, yeah.
Well, what is their take on Trump? I never watch CNBC because I just don't. So,
well, if you're Jim Cramer, and everybody knows who he is. He's the crazy guy. He's out of
he throws
Philadelphia.
Stuff and whatever.
Yeah. He hates Trump.
He's a loudmouth.
Yeah. So, he's always thinking that things are going to go badly because of Trump. Other people seem more measured at CNBC. Not everybody, but a lot of people seem more measured about him. It's easier for people in that space to look at facts.
Yep.
And not to, gin up a narrative around something. They have to look at facts. It's numbers. So it's a little easier for them to stay the middle lane. So most of them do.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. And, I like the measured. It's just they go by the numbers.
Yeah.
That's what they do. They go by the numbers.
Yeah.
I see things like when I'm on X, I'll see people literally mocking Jim Cramer. And they'll say, okay, Jim, so you said that the economy was going to, like today, I guarantee you today on the socials, you're going to see all these people making fun of Jim Cramer because he has, I'm assuming, he's been calling, he's been saying, well, the economy is going to, be destroyed and the tariff's going to kill us, so on and so forth. And people mock him. And I think that this is a guy who at one time, he was considered just great at what he did. And I think that, he's somebody who has made some mistakes in his prognostications, and I don't know if he has the respect he once did. Now, when you watch him, does it sound like he hates Trump because of who Donald Trump is, or because he disagrees with him politically, or what is the hatred with Donald Trump?
If you watch his show, it's all theatrics. So, he's just buying into the theatrics of the left. That's all.
It's performative, like everything else.
Performative, like all of the left seems to be.
All right. Hey, can we, KGB, can you get that Russian theme that we had earlier? It's a highlight of my day.
Oh, yeah.
So, Natasha Bertrand. Now, if you don't know who Natasha Bertrand is, Donald Trump has been talking about her an awful lot. She is apparently the CNN reporter who was able to get her, I believe she's a Russian plant, because her first name is Natasha. And so she got her Russian hands on that low-level, low-confidence report from the first day of the Iran bombings, where we bombed their nuclear sites. And, she's the one that reported, we set him back a couple of months. And so we have an official Natasha theme. Russian national anthem, Soviet Union's. And this is Donald Trump. Natasha Bertrand should be fired from CNN. I watched her for 3 days doing fake news. She should be immediately reprimanded and then thrown out like a dog. That's what the president says.
Wow.
Thrown out like a dog. How do you say dog in Russian? She lied on the laptop from hell story, and now she lied on the nuclear site story, attempting to destroy our Patriot pilots by making them look bad when, in fact, they did a great job. And they hit pay dirt, the president says. Total obliteration. She should not be allowed to work at fake news CNN. I actually think she fits right in. It's people like her who destroyed the reputation of a once great network. Her slant was so obviously negative. Besides, she doesn't have what it takes to be an on-camera correspondent. Not even close. Fire Natasha. It's pretty good.
I got to get back to the KGB soon. I feel too patriotic right now.
When we played this earlier, Joe, and people were texting into the super text line that KGB was probably standing with his right hand over his heart when we were playing this old Soviet Union national anthem.
Yes.
A couple of tears, too.
It all works. You know what we ought to do one day on one Friday is we ought to, get some like Russian food for KGB. Some Russian bread. I don't even know
Like
what they...
what kind of
I was
thing
about to
is
say,
Russian
Nate, what
food?
is Russian food, Dan?
I have no idea because I ain't Russian.
Are you disrespecting my culture?
Nope.
Joan, what do you think?
I totally disrespecting you.
Yeah.
First of all, you're from California in reality, which is my culture. And our culture gets insulted a lot around here. Although I no longer claim California culture.
Yeah, I have to always dissociate myself. I when someone says you're from California, I go, I'm not that California.
The only California culture that I still ascribe to is In-N-Out Burger.
This is correct.
Which is now coming here, so I can say it's now Southern culture.
When I went to Vegas for my birthday, I like the first lunch I had, I was like, we're going to In-N-Out. I don't care where it is. We're finding it. We're going to walk in this 110-degree heat if I need my double-double.
There you go.
And it was worth it.
All right, I want to play this audio. This is Caroline Leavitt yesterday, and she is talking about the the performance of Natasha. And let's go ahead and play the theme again, KGB. This is Caroline Leavitt talking about Natasha.
Not only does our own intelligence say that, but also the Iranian foreign minister has said that. We saw Israel conclude the same thing based on their own intelligence. We also had the United Nations say that as well. So I think the only other time the United Nations, Israel, Iran, and the United States has agreed on something is that the sky is blue. But they all agree that Iran's nuclear facilities were completely demolished.
Yeah, and she singled out Russian. Just so we're clear, I don't think she's Russian. So she pointed out Russian Natasha Bertrand.
Natasha Bertrand of CNN, who has done this in the past. In 2020, it was Natasha Bertrand who had 51 intelligence analysts falsely lie to her, but she still put it on paper for some reason, that the Hunter Biden laptop story was Russian disinformation. Also in 2020, this same reporter, Natasha Bertrand, wrote that a top intel agency ruled out the man-made lab leak theory of the coronavirus origins. This reporter wrote a lie from the intelligence community to seek a narrative she wanted to prove. Also, in 2024, Bertrand pushed the suckers and losers hoax. She also pushed the fine people hoax, which was taking the president's words purposely out of context. And then last October, and I believe this is notable, Natasha Bertrand published an article in Politico from the intelligence agency. She said that John Ratcliffe was speaking without any evidence when he said Iran was attempting to undermine President Trump's presidential campaign. And then we, of course, found out that was absolutely true. And so this is a reporter who has been unfortunately used by people who dislike Donald Trump in this government to push fake and false narratives. She should be ashamed of herself. And that's not what reporting is. And this week, we saw this same reporter being used to push a fake narrative to try to undermine the President of the United States, and more importantly, the brave fighter pilots who conducted one of the most successful operations in United States history.
There you go. So, in case you were keeping score, or in case you didn't keep score, Natasha Bertrand, the greatest hits of Donald Trump hoaxes, suckers and losers, good people on both sides, Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation, and COVID didn't come from a Chinese lab.
Dan,
Yes.
I really hate to burst your bubble, but I looked at the last name Bertrand's origin as well,
Don't care.
because that might be where she's actually from.
Her first name is Natasha.
But that doesn't mean it's...
Her first name is Natasha. That is a Russian name. I'm going for it. This is what I think. I think she's a Ruski. Joan, back me up on this.
You don't name your kid something odd like Natasha without there being some connection to where it originates from.
Thank you, Joan.
It's just common sense.
It's just common sense, KGB. Do you know why KGB doesn't understand what we're saying, Joan?
Because he's Russian.
It's that Russian education.
Yeah. Shame.
Can it be the weekend yet? I'm checked out now.
Whatever. All right, you can kill it now if you want. Go ahead.
It's a long
At least
song.
it was a. It's. Do you want to know how long it is?
We
on
found
YouTube?
we found the remix. Actually,
It was 3. It's 3 minutes and 44 seconds, but it feels like an eternity.
so Brian Stelter, of course, as you might imagine, he is out there and he is defending Natasha.
That's right. Natasha was one of 3 bylines, 3 reporters with 3 separate sources on the initial Tuesday story. And within a number of hours, we saw the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Associated Press, Fox News, and other outlets all match that reporting. So when Caroline Leavitt talks about one leaker and claiming the FBI will find that one leaker, I think it's important to note that these stories from CNN and other outlets were sourced to multiple anonymous sources. And there was not just one reporter on this story. There were many reporters on this story.
All right. So, and he's right, which actually brings the point home that there's a lot of people out there that are just like Ruski Natasha. By the way, 1349 says, did y'all just geographically profile someone's name? It was actually Joan that started it, just so we're clear.
How did I do it?
I'm just kidding.
It's always my fault.
So part of what is going on here is that you have people within the state agencies, defense and intelligence agencies, and they're not fans of Donald Trump. They're not fans of Pete Hegseth. And so they're going to release this report to a friendly to them journalist, an anti-Trump journalist, and she puts it out there. And then it becomes fodder for, conversation. So, and that's exactly what happened. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. That is exactly what this is all about. You do have a lot of people, anti-Trump people in the intelligence agencies. And what they're doing is they're cherry picking information to give to anti-Trump reporters who then post and print the information.
Natasha does have an outstanding reputation, a great history of reporting. So I think those petty personal attacks from the White House podium, they reveal more about the White House than they do about CNN or any other news outlet in this case.
Thanks, Dad. Do you think me calling her Russian is a petty personal attack?
Well, it might be, but it's warranted. It's justified.
It is justified.
Yes.
KGB, actually, he was missing home, and he wanted me to figure out a way that, we could play his national anthem.
Right.
Soviet Union.
Is he raising a flag over there? I can't see it from here.
Oh, I'm flipping something, all right.
It's probably the Russian flag that he's raising.
Yeah.
Let's see. When she was a Business Insider, she reported on the Steele dossier, which alleged ties between Trump and Russia. Critics argued that she gave it undue credibility.
Yeah, this is now a muddy issue, and I think we see what's going on here. Most viewers see the game that's being played by the administration. It's an attempt to attack the messenger so that people will dismiss the message.
Well, and here's what we'll end this Friday on this note from Jake Tapper.
Asking questions is literally our job. Demanding facts and answers instead of just taking a president's word for it.
Oh, like when you take a president's word for it that he's mentally fine?
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
Like that?
That is exactly right. I mean, you could go an hour on just that comment from Jake Tapper. Unfortunately, Joan, I don't have any more time left on this radio broadcast.
You sound so sad about it.
I am heartbroken that I am done for a Friday.
It's a Dangria time.
It's going to be a Dangria time, sure, absolutely. All right, super text line is open. 614. Oh, by the way, beet soup is apparently what Russians eat for breakfast. Sounds really good.
You want to hear something funny? Yesterday with my dad, I had some beet juice, and I thought it was delicious. So that actually goes in hand with Russian.
Okay.
Try beet juice. It's healthy and delicious.
I was forced to eat beets as a child, and it scarred me for life.
Well, if you're forced to do something, you
They're
don't like it at the
purple.
end.
Who eats purple food?
It's more red. It's more red.
Nah, it's purple. Anyway.
Did they remove the ability to see color when they fixed your eyes?
Yeah.
No, all I'm saying is, when I was a kid, my mom and dad would make me eat beets from a can.
Yeah,
and I ended
mine
up,
too.
And I've told this story before. I hated it so much that I ended up throwing my beets behind the couch when I was like 7. And then we got like this infestation of ants. And so they looked, where the heck were all these ants coming from? They looked behind the couch and they saw all my beets.
There they were.
Totally threw my brother under the bus.
Wait,
and
you
he
said it was your brother?
I did. And so,
in his defense, I would do the same exact thing.
Do you know what my brother did?
What?
He actually ate beets right in front of my parents to prove that it wasn't him.
Okay, that's pretty awesome.
And I started crying. All right, moving right along.